Hey there, what's up guys, Zijin Cheng here, and welcome to the review of the Cubot X9. The Cubot X9 is a 5-inch smartphone that takes a lot of inspiration from the iPhone 6 in its design. It has respectable specifications, an octacore MTK6592 processor, 2 gigs of RAM, and a 720p display. The Cubot brand is a Chinese smartphone brand that could be described as average. It isn't as ghetto or bad as say Star or its rebrands, but it also doesn't have the same pull as better Chinese brands such as Xiaomi, THL, Meizu, and the like. The hardware of the Cubot X9 is a pleasure to behold. It feels great in the hand, is very light, and the materials used to make it feel extremely premium. If not for the Cubot logo on the back, a less than tech-savvy individual could mistake this for an iPhone. It's just a few millimeters taller and wider than the iPhone 6 due to its slightly larger screen size. In fact, it is just as thin as the iPhone 6 at 6.9 millimeters and 3 grams lighter as well. The right side of the phone houses the power and volume buttons, both of which feel solid and great to the touch. It also has dual SIM capabilities with one nanoSIM tray and one MicroSIM tray situated on the right side of the phone. It also has a MicroSD card slot, but here's where it gets a little strange. The nanoSIM tray doubles as a MicroSD card slot, which means that if you would like to use a MicroSD, you will have to forego having 2 SIMs in it at once. Not sure why Cubot did this, but it is something to be aware of. The back of the phone houses its 8 megapixel camera and an LED flash. If you look closely, you will see a very small pinhole on the back. I haven't figured out what the function of that is yet. However, the brushed metal finish gives it a very premium feel as well. The front of the phone houses its 5 megapixel front-facing camera, as well as the 3 capacitive buttons at the bottom of the phone. It also has a notification LED situated between 2 of the capacitive buttons as well. I'm very satisfied with the Cubot X9's build quality. I would say its build quality and feel in the hand is better than other flagship phones like say the Galaxy S5, which uses a very strong and durable, but yet still plastic body. The screen is a 5-inch 720p IPS LCD display. While it isn't a 1080p display, I absolutely did not notice. Colors are vivid, accurate, and the screen is insanely bright. I was looking up Cubot's numbers and got around 450 nits of brightness, but this is probably not true. This thing is crazy bright. I would say this is about on par with the iPhone 6, which has 606 nits of brightness. However, the opposite is also true. The brightness of this phone at the lowest is still extremely bright and hurts my eyes at night. However, using an app like Screen Filter brought the screen's brightness down to acceptable levels. The Cubot X9 comes with stock Android 4.4.4, which is something I'm quite happy with. I rather dislike phones like Meizu's MX4, which comes with custom skins like Flime, which turned out to be quite buggy at launch. It also comes with a stock launcher as well, and the UI is very smooth to the touch. The stock launcher is quite smooth, and launching and closing apps are a breeze as well. It comes with almost no bloatware, as well as a plethora of genuinely useful software found under the settings menu. It comes with gesture control with many different gestures available. My favorite gestures being the ones allowing you to turn off the screen by double tapping the home button, and turning the screen back on by double tapping anywhere on the screen's display. It also comes with a gloves touch mode that cranks up the sensitivity of the screen so that it can be used with gloves. In fact, you can use a multitude of household items to interact with the screen while gloves touch mode is on. For example, I can use this metal padlock to interact with the phone, as well as this kitchen knife. And finally, this frying pan. These are all quite useful additions to the stock ROM, but in my opinion, one of the most valuable additions is app permissions. It allows you to set the permissions for each individual app, so for those who have something to hide, this is the phone for you. The back camera is an 8 megapixel camera with a Sony sensor, and it also has a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. Both cameras do not take the greatest quality pictures, but you'll get by if you're just posting pictures to Facebook, Instagram, or Google+. However, low-light photography is not this phone's strong suit, as taking pictures in anything less than ideal settings results in noisy and grainy pictures, which frankly look quite horrible. However, This problem is not unique to the Cubot X9. My THL5000 also is very similar in low light situations, having terrible image quality and noise as well. The MTK6592 processor speeds the Cubot X9 along quite nicely. Intense games like Real Racing run nice and smooth. Other less intense games like Clash of Clans and Boom Beach also run great. I also ran the Antutu benchmark as well, and obtained a score of 27,812. This is about average for an MTK6592 device with 2 gigs of RAM. This phone has quad-band GSM as well as WCDMA 850/2100. I am currently on the Rogers network here in Canada. I get HSPA+ connectivity with speeds around 36 megabits per second. Wi-Fi performance is also great. My wireless N router is in the basement, and I get reception anywhere in the house, even on the second floor and outside. I used the Cubot X9 on the second day of getting it to navigate my way to an interview. The GPS locked on easily to my position while I had data on, and it directed me all the way to my interview location. However, it did lose location twice, disconnecting for about 30 seconds and jumping about 10 feet to the right of my current location. However, the GPS always locked back on. Bluetooth and NFC are also included in this phone, and both work as expected. With a puny 2200 mAh battery and the power-hungry screen and processor, I was expecting horrid battery life. However, battery life on the Cubot X9 is surprisingly average. It is able to get about 4 hours of screen on time in a 16-hour day before dying. I used it for navigation, podcasts, surfing the web, and playing some games. If you use your phone moderately, the battery will be able to last you about a day. Unless you are a very light user, you will have to charge it every night. For a more detailed breakdown of battery usage, visit the text review in the link down below. There are also a couple of things I didn't like. I already mentioned how the lowest brightness of the screen is still glaring. The touchscreen gets a little weird sometimes with Close Touch mode on. It gets very jittery and sensitive when trying to select some text or scroll through a web page. I guess that could be a consequence of the drastically increased sensitivity of the screen. The nanoSIM card tray performing double duty as a MicroSD card slot puzzled me as well, as that design decision didn't seem to click with me. The Cubot X9 is all around a great smartphone for the price. The build quality feels leagues ahead of its $130 ticket price. Performance is great, and the screen is blindingly bright. However, you also have to remember that with a $130 phone comes $130 battery life. In conclusion, if you need a cheap smartphone with great build quality and great performance and have readily available sources to recharge your phone, then you can't go too far wrong with the Cubot X9. Thank you for watching my review and have a great day.